The sun was beginning to dip behind the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over the dense forest. A cool breeze whispered through the trees, rustling the leaves as the flames of the campfire flickered and danced. Amidst the growing darkness, the faint crackling of the fire could be heard, along with the distant howls of unseen creatures. A young woman sat near the fire, her orange-red hair flowing freely down her back. Her fox-like ears perked up as she listened intently to the sounds of the wild. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the surroundings, ever alert. She wasn't alone, but something about the silence made her feel isolated, as though a storm was brewing just beyond the tree line. Her name was Kira, and she had once belonged to a family of sorts, a group of warriors who shared an unbreakable bond. But that was before the war. The night was quiet, yet something felt wrong. Kira had always been able to trust her instincts, and tonight they were telling her something was coming. Her fingers tightened around the hilt of her blade, the cold steel reassuring her it had all started weeks ago. The war, the one that changed. Everything had come without warning. The enemy, a group of ruthless invaders, had swept through their territory with terrifying speed. They were merciless, attacking without provocation. Kira's pack had fought back, their strength and unity, their greatest weapon. But even their might couldn't stop the onslaught. It wasn't the first war Kira had seen, but it was the first one that felt different. This war wasn't just about survival. It was about losing everything. Her pack had been torn apart in a series of brutal battles. One by one, they had fallen friends, family, comrades, leaving her alone in a world that had grown darker and more dangerous with every passing day. Kira closed her eyes, memories of the battlefields flashing in her mind. The screams, the blood, the moments when she thought she had lost everything. She had fought until she could fight no more, but when the smoke cleared, her pack was no longer with her. She had escaped, but at what cost? She wasn't the only one to survive, but those who had managed to escape were scattered across the land, hiding in the shadows, waiting for the day when they would reunite. The world they had known was gone, replaced by a harsh reality where every day was a struggle to stay alive. But Kira hadn't given up. No matter how much she wanted to, she couldn't. She knew deep down that her pack wasn't truly gone. They were still out there, scattered and hiding, but they were waiting. She had to find them. She couldn't let their sacrifices be in vain. Her thoughts were interrupted by a rustling noise from the trees. Her heart skipped a beat as she instantly rose to her feet, her senses sharp. Her eyes scanned the shadows, searching for the source of the sound. There, just beyond the firelight, she saw movement. Her hand gripped the hilt of her blade tighter. Kira had no idea who or what was out there. It could be another enemy, another group of invaders, or it could be something far worse. But no matter what it was, she was ready. She had no choice but to be ready. Her survival depended on it. The rustling grew louder and Kira's muscles tensed, prepared for whatever was to come. She could feel the weight of the past on her shoulders, but she wouldn't let it drag her down. Not now, not when there was still a chance to reunite with her pack. She had lost so much already. She wasn't about to lose hope. The figure stepped out from the shadows, and Kira's eyes narrowed. It wasn't an enemy. In fact, it wasn't human at all. The creature standing before her was tall, with glowing eyes and features that resembled a fox, as a creature that Kira had only heard of in legends. Her breath caught in her throat as she took a cautious step back. The creature didn't seem hostile, but there was something about it that made Kira uneasy. Its presence was both familiar and alien at the same time. It spoke in a language she didn't understand, the words sounding like a mix of growls and whispers. But Kira didn't need to understand the language to know that this creature was not here to harm her. Its eyes, though strange, held a sense of wisdom, of experience far beyond her own. The creature tilted its head as though studying her, and then, without another word, it turned and disappeared into the forest, leaving Kira standing alone once again. She blinked, trying to process what had just happened. What was it? Why had it come to her? And what did it mean for her search to reunite with her pack? As Kira lowered her blade, the questions swirled in her mind. She didn't have the answers yet, but one thing was clear. This war had opened doors to strange and unfamiliar paths. Paths she would have to walk if she ever hoped to find her pack again. The forest felt colder now, as though the darkness was closing in on her. She glanced once more at the spot where the creature had vanished. The only evidence of its existence, the lingering feeling that something extraordinary had just begun. But what exactly? Kira didn't know. All she knew was that the journey ahead would be unlike anything she had ever faced before, and she was ready. The wind had grown colder as Kira sat down by the fire once more, her mind racing with the strange encounter. The creature, a being she couldn't yet comprehend, had disappeared without a trace, leaving behind only the unsettled feeling that things were changing in ways she couldn't fully grasp. Was it a sign, or just a trick of her exhausted mind? The fire crackled and popped, its warmth offering a fleeting comfort. Kira leaned forward, staring into the flames, her thoughts still on the mysterious figure. She was used to fighting enemies, facing the challenges of survival. But this was different. This creature had not attacked. It had not tried to kill her. Instead, it had observed her, as if it knew something she didn't. Kira's eyes narrowed as she thought back to the stories she had heard as a child. Her pack had spoken of many strange creatures that roamed the lands beyond their territory, but no one had ever spoken of one quite like this. The glowing eyes, the fox-like features, the intelligence radiating from it. It was clear that it wasn't just a wild animal. No, this was something else, something ancient and far more complex than any predator she had faced. But there was no time for fear. If anything, the encounter had reignited her resolve. She had lost everything, her pack, her sense of safety, her purpose. But now, a new question hung in the air. What if the creatures of this world weren't all enemies? What if there were allies out there, waiting for her to find them? Kira had no answers. Only more questions. The next morning, she packed up her camp, her movements sharp and practiced. She was used to the solitude now, the quiet of the wilderness, but the weight of her loneliness still gnawed at her. She missed the company of her pack, their laughter, their shared strength, the comfort of knowing that she wasn't truly alone. Her fingers brushed the handle of her sword as she stood, scanning the horizon. The dense forest stretched out before her, silent and foreboding. Somewhere beyond the trees, the world was changing, but Kira wasn't sure how much longer she could stay in one place. She needed answers, and to find them, she needed to keep moving. Kira set off into the forest, her senses heightened, every sound amplified by the stillness around her. Her mind wandered back to the vision of the creature, its glowing eyes and its cryptic departure. What did it want? What had it meant by its silent watch over her? Was it a warning? Or perhaps a guide, pushing her toward something greater than herself? The forest seemed to close in around her as the day wore on. The path was unclear, and every tree looked the same, endless rows of towering trunks and thick underbrush. But Kira's instincts were sharp. She had learned to trust them in the hardest moments of her life. Hours passed as she made her way deeper into the wilds, navigating the unfamiliar terrain with careful precision. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, and the sounds of distant animals echoed through the trees. She felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, but she pushed forward. There was no turning back now. As the sun began to set once again, Kira spotted something in the distance, a figure moving through the trees. At first, she thought it might be another enemy, but as she drew closer, she realized it was a person, a woman, dressed in strange, fur-covered armor. Her hair was wild, with a streak of silver running through it, and her eyes shone with a fierce determination. The woman turned, locking eyes with Kira, and for a moment, neither of them moved. It was a tense standoff, the forest holding its breath. As the two women measured each other, Kira's hand instinctively went to her blade, but she didn't draw it. This woman didn't seem like an enemy. There was something in her gaze, something that reminded Kira of herself. Lost, alone, and fighting for survival. The woman took a step forward, breaking the silence. "You're looking for something, aren't you?" Her voice was soft but firm, carrying a strange sense of authority. Kira studied her carefully. "And what makes you think that?" The woman smiled, but there was a sadness in her eyes. "I can see it in your eyes, the same hunger. The same pain. You're searching for your pack, aren't you?" Kira's breath caught in her throat. How did this stranger know? Was she another survivor, someone who had experienced the same loss? Or was there more to this woman than met the eye? The woman's expression softened as she stepped closer. "You're not alone. There are others out there, others who have lost their packs too, and they're waiting for you." Kira's heart skipped a beat. "Where are they?" she asked urgently. "Where can I find them?" The woman's eyes grew distant for a moment, as if recalling something from long ago. "The path is hidden, but it's there, just beyond the reach of those who don't believe. You must keep going, keep searching. The answers will come to you when the time is right." Kira felt a surge of frustration and hope. This woman was speaking in riddles, and Kira was done with uncertainty. She needed answers now, not later. But something about the woman's calm presence soothed her anxiety. Maybe there was a reason for this cryptic conversation. Maybe this was a sign that she wasn't as alone as she had felt. The woman stepped back, her gaze steady. "Follow the whispers of the forest. They will guide you to the place you seek. But remember, you're not just looking for your pack. You're looking for something more. Something that could change everything." With that, the woman turned and disappeared into the trees, her form vanishing as quickly as she had appeared. Kira stood there, processing the encounter. The wind whispered through the forest, carrying with it a sense of mystery and promise. Kira's instincts told her to follow, but she couldn't help but wonder, what if the answers she sought were not just about her pack, but something far more important? The fire inside her burned brighter now. She would follow the whispers. She would keep searching. The forest, the creatures, and the strange woman had all given her a glimpse of something greater. And she would not rest until she found it. Kira didn't sleep that night. The mysterious woman's words echoed in her mind like a haunting melody. Follow the whispers of the forest. What did that mean? How was she supposed to follow whispers when everything around her felt so still, so silent? The darkness seemed deeper that night, pressing in from all sides. The forest, once a place of safety, now felt like an endless maze, full of unknown dangers lurking just beyond the light of her campfire. She sat by the fire for hours, trying to make sense of everything. The creature, the strange woman, the sense that something bigger than herself was unfolding. But the more she thought, the more confused she became. At dawn, Kira packed her things with a sense of purpose. She had no map, no clear direction, but she would follow the path, however hidden it may be. The forest had whispered its promise to her, and now she had no choice but to trust it. The first few hours were uneventful. The forest quiet except for the occasional rustling of animals in the distance. But Kira felt it, the subtle pull, the sense that she was being guided. It was as if the very earth beneath her feet was leading her somewhere. Though she couldn't understand how or why. As the morning passed, Kira reached a small clearing. The trees opened up into a patch of wildflowers, the bright colors contrasting against the green of the forest. She stopped, breathing in the sweet scent of the flowers. For a moment, it felt peaceful, almost like a dream. But then she heard it, the faintest sound, like a whisper on the wind. Her heart skipped. She spun around, her senses on high alert. Nothing. Kira hesitated, but then took a cautious step forward. her eyes scanning the trees for any sign of movement. There it was again, a whisper, softer this time, like a breeze brushing against her ear. It was coming from the far side of the clearing, from the dense underbrush. She walked toward it, her footsteps light, her breath steady as she approached the source of the sound. Something shifted in the air, a low hum, almost imperceptible. It was as if the very forest itself was alive, vibrating with ancient energy. The hair on the back of her neck stood up. She had no idea what this was, but she was certain of one thing. This was the path the woman had spoken of. Kira pushed through the underbrush, her sword at the ready, though she had no idea what she might face. The forest opened up ahead, revealing an old, overgrown stone structure. The stones were covered with thick moss, vines snaking up their sides, giving it the appearance of something long forgotten by time. That it wasn't a ruin, at least, not in the sense that it had been abandoned. This place felt ancient, like it had been here for centuries, hidden from the world. There was a faint, glowing light emanating from between the stones, the kind that could only be created by something unnatural. Kira stepped forward, her breath shallow, her pulse quickening. She could feel the pull, stronger now, guiding her to the center of the structure. The moment she crossed the threshold, the whispering intensified, swirling around her like a storm. She looked up to see a figure standing in the center of the ruins, another woman, draped in flowing robes of pale blue, her long hair cascading around her like a waterfall. This woman was different from the one she had met before. There was an otherworldly presence about her, something that felt ancient, and yet her eyes were filled with understanding and compassion. "You've come," the woman said, her voice soft and melodic, as though it was meant to soothe Kira's soul. Kira didn't speak at first, still unsure of what to make of the encounter. She had come seeking answers, but now that they were before her, she felt a deep uncertainty. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "I am one who has waited," the woman replied. "I have seen many come and go, all searching for something just like you, but your path is different. You are here to find what has been lost, to restore the balance that was broken." Kira's mind raced. "Restore the balance? What does that mean?" The woman nodded, her eyes filled with ancient wisdom. "The war that destroyed your pack was not just a war of survival. It was a war against something older, something that has been here long before your people, before all of us. You and your kind, your pack, are the guardians, the keepers of a power that the invaders seek to control. But they do not understand it. They cannot. It is a power of the earth itself." Kira's heart pounded in her chest. "What power? How do I stop them?" The woman's gaze softened. "You cannot stop them alone. You will need the help of others. Those who still remember the old ways, the ways of the earth, of the spirit. There are those who remain hidden, just like you. And together, you must face the invaders and reclaim what has been stolen." Kira felt a cold shiver run down her spine. The weight of the woman's words settled heavily on her shoulders. This was more than just finding her pack. This was about something far greater, a battle that could change the world itself. "How do I find them?" Kira asked, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. The woman stepped closer, her presence almost tangible. "Follow the signs. The forest will guide you. And when the time comes, you will know where to go." Kira felt the earth beneath her feet vibrate, as if the world itself was alive, responding to the woman's words. The glowing light around them grew brighter, filling the air with a warm, golden glow. The whispers of the forest became clearer now, like a distant call, urging her forward. "You are not alone," the woman whispered, as her form began to fade into the light. "Remember, Kira, you have not lost everything. There is still hope. Keep moving forward." And with that, the woman disappeared, leaving Kira standing alone in the ruins. The whispers faded into silence, and for a moment, Kira wondered if she had imagined the entire thing. But deep down, She knew that the path she had been seeking was now clearer than ever. The answers were out there waiting for her, and she would find them no matter the cost. Kira stood in the ruins, her mind spinning with the woman's words. The forest had gone eerily still, as though holding its breath, waiting for the next move. She couldn't shake the feeling that something profound had just happened, that something beyond her comprehension was unfolding around her. Yet in the silence that followed, the weight of the words she had just heard hung heavy in the air. "You are not alone." The phrase repeated in Kira's mind like an echo. Her pack might be scattered, but the woman's words gave her hope. There were others who had not been lost to the war, others who remembered the old ways, the ways of the earth, of balance, and of power. She wasn't alone in this fight, not truly. But where were these others, and how would she find them? Kira took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. The ruins no longer seemed so ancient and forgotten. They were a beacon, calling her forward. The strange energy that had filled the air earlier seemed to have dissipated, leaving behind a sense of urgency, a feeling that the time to act had come. There was no more waiting. She had to keep moving, to find the others, to uncover the power that could defeat the invaders. She turned and walked out of the ruins, the whispers of the forest now guiding her steps. The journey ahead was unclear, but she trusted the pull. In her gut, it wasn't just instinct anymore. It was something deeper, something beyond reason. The forest had awakened in her a fire she hadn't known existed. As she ventured through the woods, the landscape began to change. The trees grew thicker, the underbrush more tangled, as if the forest itself was growing denser, more ancient with every step. The path she had been following seemed to narrow, forcing her to weave through the thickening growth. Yet, despite the overwhelming sense of isolation, Kira felt a strange sense of connection. She wasn't sure if it was the forest's call or something more, but she felt as though it was guiding her, urging her forward into the unknown. Hours passed, and with each step, Kira's body grew wearier, but her determination never faltered. She had made it this far, and she wouldn't stop now. Her pack, her family, they were out there, and she would find them. By dusk, Kira reached the edge of a small clearing. In the distance, she saw a group of figures sitting around a fire. Her heart skipped a beat. Was this it? Had she found the others? She approached cautiously, her hand near her blade. She wasn't sure who these people were, but after everything she had been through, she wasn't taking any chances. As she drew closer, she saw them more clearly, 4 figures, all dressed in rugged, worn clothing. They sat in a loose circle, their faces lit by the flickering firelight. They looked like survivors, like they had been through the same battles, the same struggles. One of them, a tall woman with dark hair and piercing green eyes, noticed Kira's approach and stood. Her expression was wary but not hostile. "You there," the woman called out, her voice steady but filled with caution. "Who are you? What do you want?" Kira stopped a few paces away, trying to gauge the situation. She had no idea who these people were, but there was something about them that felt right. They felt familiar, like they were part of the same world she had lost. "My name is Kira," she said, her voice firm but not aggressive. "I'm looking for answers for others like me. I've been searching for my pack, for the ones who were lost in the war. I was told there were others, those who haven't forgotten what was lost, who still remember the old ways." The woman's eyes softened slightly, and she exchanged a glance with the others around the fire. After a brief moment of silent communication, the woman nodded and gestured for Kira to come closer. "You've found us," she said simply. Kira felt a wave of relief wash over her, but there was still a lingering uncertainty. "Who are you?" The woman smiled faintly. "We are the Keepers," she replied. "We've been hiding, waiting for the day when the balance would be restored. We were called, just like you, to protect what was lost, to keep the old ways alive, To fight back against the invaders who seek to control what they don't understand. Kira's heart pounded. This was what she had been searching for. The others who had survived. The ones who still held the knowledge and power of the earth. But there was something else in the woman's words, a deeper meaning that Kira couldn't yet grasp. The balance, Kira repeated. What do you mean by that? The woman sat back down by the fire, and the others followed suit, inviting Kira to sit with them. The balance, the woman explained, is the harmony between all things, the creatures, the spirit. When the invaders came, they shattered that balance. They came seeking power they could never truly control. They don't realize the destruction they're causing, but we know. We have always known. Kira listened intently, her mind racing. Everything was becoming clearer now. Her pack wasn't just a family. They were part of something greater, a force meant to keep the world in balance. The war wasn't just about survival. It was about protecting the earth itself. But what was she supposed to do with this knowledge? How could she, a single survivor, possibly help restore this balance? She was just one person, one young woman, alone and unprepared, the woman with green eyes seemed to read her thoughts. Don't doubt yourself, she said softly. You are stronger than you realize, Kira. You've already taken the first step by finding us. Together, we will fight to restore the balance. We will find your pack. And when we do, the invaders will know the true power of the earth. Kira felt a spark of hope ignite in her chest. The weight of the task ahead was immense, but for the first time in a long while, she didn't feel alone. There were others, and they were ready to fight. The fire crackled in the center of the group, its warmth spreading through Kira's tired body. She looked around at the keepers, their faces marked by years of hardship and struggle, but their eyes filled with determination. They were warriors, just like her. And together, they would face the storm that was coming. Kira knew there was still much to learn, still much to understand about the power they sought to restore. But she also knew that she couldn't do it alone. The road ahead would be difficult, filled with challenges and dangers she couldn't yet imagine. But for the first time in a long time, she felt the stirrings of hope. The forest had whispered to her, and now she had found her way. And with the keepers by her side, she would not stop until she had reclaimed everything that had been taken from her and the world. Kira sat by the fire, her heart racing with the realization of what had just happened. She had found the keepers, ones who had been waiting for her, just as the mysterious woman had said. The strange words the woman had spoken, the balance, the old ways, they all seemed to make sense now, even if she couldn't quite understand the full picture. But she wasn't alone anymore, and that was enough for now. The woman with green eyes, who had introduced herself as Elysia, watched Kira carefully, her expression calm but purposeful. The other members of the group were silent, waiting for Kira to absorb everything that had been shared. What now? Kira finally asked, breaking the silence. Her voice was steady, though there was a trace of uncertainty beneath her calm demeanor. She had come so far, but the path ahead was still unclear. Elysia's gaze softened, and she leaned forward, the flickering firelight casting shadows on her face. Now we begin to teach you what you must know. To restore the balance, you will need to understand the power we protect. This isn't just about fighting the invaders. It's about understanding what we've lost and how to bring it back. Kira nodded, her curiosity piqued. But how do we even begin? I'm just one person. I barely know what's happening, let alone how to restore balance. Elysia's eyes twinkled with quiet understanding. You are stronger than you realize, Kira. This power, this balance, it's within you already. The earth has always called. To you, you may not fully understand it, but it's there. And the rest of us will guide you. Together we can restore what has been lost. The other keepers gathered around, each of them studying Kira with their own sense of purpose. One of them, A tall man with dark hair and a weathered face spoke up. "I know it seems overwhelming," he said, his voice low but steady. "But you've already come this far. The path is difficult, yes, but we've been through the same trials. We will help you find your way." Kira felt a weight lift from her chest. These were people who understood, people who had walked a similar road. She wasn't alone in this, and for the first time since the war began, she allowed herself to feel a glimmer of hope. The first step, Elysia continued, is understanding the old ways, the ways of the earth, the creatures, the spirits. Before the invaders came, the world was in harmony. The land thrived, and all the creatures, including your pack, shared a bond with the earth's power. But when the invaders came, they sought to control this power. They took what they couldn't understand and disrupted the balance. Kira's brow furrowed. "So we need to stop them from controlling this power?" Elysia nodded. "Exactly. But it's more than just stopping them. We need to reclaim what they've taken and return the earth to its natural state. The balance has been shattered, and until we restore it, the world will continue to fall into chaos." Kira stood up, pacing slowly as she thought about everything she had heard. "But where do we even begin? The invaders have already taken so much. My pack is gone. The land is scarred. How do we even begin to fix that?" The tall man, who had been silent until now, stood up and walked over to Kira. His name was Thorn, and his deep-set eyes reflected years of hardship. "We begin with the heart of the earth," he said. "There are places hidden in this world where the power of the earth still runs deep. These places are sacred, and they are the key to restoring balance. If we can find them, we can unlock the earth's power and use it to stop the invaders. But we need to act quickly. The longer we wait, the harder it will be to undo the damage." Kira's chest tightened as the enormity of the task before her became clearer. The invaders had already torn apart so much of the world. What hope did they have of finding these sacred places and using the earth's power to restore what had been lost? But then, something clicked in her mind. She remembered the strange creature she had encountered in the forest, the one with the glowing eyes. She remembered the feeling it had left in her, like something ancient and powerful was stirring, waiting for her to find it. "The forest," Kira said quietly. "When I was out there, I met a creature. It was different. I felt something from it, like it was calling me. Could that have been one of these sacred places?" Elysia's eyes widened with interest. "It's possible," she said thoughtfully. "The creatures of the earth, the spirits that still roam the land, they are tied to the sacred places. If you felt something, it could be a sign. The power you're searching for may be closer than you think." Kira felt a surge of determination. She had already traveled far, but now the path felt more tangible. The forest, the creature, the whispers, they were all part of something much bigger. She had felt it, that ancient power, and now she knew that her journey wasn't just about finding her pack. It was about something far greater, the restoration of the balance that had been broken. She looked at Elysia and the others, her resolve hardening. "I'll find it. I'll find these sacred places and restore the balance. I don't care what it takes." Elysia smiled, her eyes full of pride. "We knew you had it in you, Kira. You are ready." The fire crackled as the group settled in for the night, each of them knowing the journey ahead would be difficult. The world had been changed, and nothing would ever be the same again. But for the first time in what felt like forever, Kira wasn't afraid. The path ahead was uncertain, and there would be many battles to fight. But now, she had a purpose. She would restore the balance. And she would not stop until her pack was found, the earth healed, and the invaders were defeated. For the first time in a long time, Kira knew that victory was possible. The road ahead was long, but she wasn't walking it alone. And together, they would face whatever the world threw at them. The days that followed were filled with preparation. Kira, along with the keepers, worked tirelessly, gathering supplies and honing their skills for the journey ahead. Each of the keepers had their own unique talents, and together, they formed a tight-knit group, bonded by a shared mission to restore balance to the world. Kira's mind was focused, her body honed by the many days of travel and survival she had endured. Yet now, with the keepers by her side, she felt something different, a quiet strength that surged from within her, urging her forward. The weight of her task was heavy, but she no longer carried it alone. The keepers were with her, and they would help her unlock the Earth's power. As the days passed, the group traveled deeper into the forest, beyond familiar territories, towards places Kira had never dared to venture before. Elysia led them with confidence, her knowledge of the land invaluable. Thorn, ever the silent warrior, kept a watchful eye on their surroundings, ensuring their safety. The other keepers, each with their own specialty, shared their wisdom with Kira, preparing her for the challenges that lay ahead. But as the group moved further into the unknown, the air grew colder. The forest, once vibrant with life, began to change. The trees were older here, their trunks thick with age, and the ground was damp with the chill of early morning mist. The path seemed to grow narrower, more treacherous, as though the land itself was reluctant to reveal its secrets. One night, as the group set up camp in a small clearing, Kira noticed something strange. The firelight flickered and danced, casting long shadows across the clearing, but the shadows didn't seem right. They were too still, too dark. For a moment, Kira thought she saw something moving just beyond the firelight, but when she turned her head, there was nothing there. Is something wrong? Elysia's voice interrupted her thoughts, her keen eyes studying Kira carefully. Kira shook her head, trying to shake off the unease that had settled in her chest. I don't know. It's just that feeling again, like we're being watched. Elysia nodded slowly, her expression hardening. The land here is old, Kira, full of ancient forces that have been dormant for a long time. You're not imagining it. Something is out there. The other keepers gathered around, their faces serious. Thorn's gaze was sharp as he scanned the perimeter of the camp, his hand resting lightly on the hilt of his sword. Kira's heart pounded in her chest. She had felt it too, the strange energy, the sense that something was lurking just beyond their reach, waiting for them to make a move. The forest felt alive in a way she had never experienced before. And it wasn't just the trees or the animals. It was as though the very land itself was watching them, testing them. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the trees, followed by a series of sharp, piercing cries. The noise sent a chill down Kira's spine. They're here, Thorn said quietly, his hand gripping his sword. Get ready, Elysia stood, her eyes glowing with determination. Stay close. They are the guardians of this place, protecting the sacred power that lies hidden here. They won't let us pass without a fight. Kira's pulse quickened. Guardians? Were these the creatures she had heard of, the ones who protected the ancient secrets of the earth? The growls grew louder, closer now, and Kira could hear the sound of heavy footsteps in the underbrush. Shadows moved in the darkness, large and predatory. The group tightened their formation, weapons drawn, ready to face whatever came their way. Out of the trees emerged a massive creature, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. It resembled a wolf, but much larger, its body covered in thick, dark fur that shimmered with an unnatural sheen. The creature's jaws snapped as it snarled, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Behind it, more creatures emerged, each more terrifying than the last. Kira's heart raced as she raised her blade, preparing for the fight. She could feel the earth beneath her feet, the same energy she had sensed before, pulsing through the ground. It was as though the land itself was alive, responding to the creatures that approached. These are the protectors, Elysia said, her voice steady. Guardians of the sacred places. They will not let us pass easily. Kira's mind raced. She knew these creatures weren't just animals. They were a part of the balance. But she also knew that if they didn't defeat them, they would never make it to the sacred power they sought. The first creature lunged at them, its claws slashing through the air. Kira reacted instinctively, parrying the attack with her blade, feeling the weight of the creature's strength behind its strike. The force of the impact sent a shockwave through her arm, but she held her ground. The battle erupted in a flurry of movement. Thorn and the other keepers fought fiercely, their weapons flashing in the firelight as they clashed with the creatures. Kira moved with them, her instincts guiding her as she fought alongside the keepers. Her heart steady despite the chaos around her. Each swing of her blade was more precise than the last, her confidence growing as she fought. She could feel the power of the earth stirring within her, guiding her movements, strengthening her resolve. She was no longer just a survivor. She was part of something much larger, something ancient and powerful. The creatures fought with a ferocity that matched her own, but slowly, the group began to gain ground. One by one, the guardians were driven back into the darkness from which they had emerged. Their growls and snarls echoed through the trees, but the keepers did not falter. They had a purpose, and they would not be stopped. As the last of the creatures retreated into the forest, the group stood, breathing heavily, their weapons still at the ready. The silence that followed was almost deafening, and for a moment, Kira could only hear the sound of her own heartbeat. "We've made it through this trial," Elysia said, her voice calm but filled with pride. "But this is only the beginning. There will be more challenges ahead. The Guardians were only the first test. The land will not give up its secrets easily." Kira nodded, wiping the sweat from her brow. The battle had been fierce, but she had felt something in that fight, something that made her stronger, something that connected her to the earth in a way she had never imagined. The journey ahead was long, and the path was uncertain. But Kira knew one thing for sure: she was ready. She would not let anything stop her from restoring the balance and finding her pack. The road ahead would be full of danger and uncertainty, but she would face it head-on, with the strength of the earth beneath her feet and the keepers by her side. Together, they would unlock the secrets of the earth and defeat the invaders who sought to destroy it. The battle was far from over, but Kira had found her purpose, and nothing would stand in her way. Asterisk. The days following the battle with the Guardians were filled with reflection and preparation. The keepers, though victorious, were exhausted. Kira, too, had felt the weight of the fight, but the fire within her burned brighter than ever. They had made it through the first trial, and now, the sacred place they sought, the source of the earth's power, was within their reach. The journey had been long, and the obstacles they had faced were many. Yet every challenge had made Kira stronger. Each battle, each discovery had brought her closer to understanding the role she had to play in restoring the balance. She was no longer just a survivor. She was a key part of the Earth's rebirth, and the burden that once felt too heavy now seemed like something she could bear. The forest had been kind to them in some ways, guiding them toward hidden paths and sacred sites, but it had also been unforgiving. The land was ancient, and the creatures that protected it were fierce. Kira had seen more of the darkness that lay beneath the surface, and she had felt the creeping corruption of the invaders' presence, like a poison spreading through the earth. But with every step she took, the whispers grew louder, urging her forward. She could feel the power of the land pulsing beneath her feet, ready to be awakened. The keepers had led Kira to the heart of the forest, a place so old that it seemed to pulse with life. The air here was thick with energy, and the trees were unlike any Kira had seen before. Their trunks were massive, their roots twisting deep into the earth, and the leaves glowed faintly with an ethereal light. This was the heart of the sacred power, the source of the balance that had been lost. Kira stood at the center of the grove, her heart pounding in her chest. The others were gathered around her, their eyes filled with reverence. They too could feel the power that emanated from the earth. the ancient energy that had been hidden for so long. "This is it," Elysia said quietly, her voice filled with awe. "The heart of the earth, the source of all life, the power that sustains thee. Balance." Kira took a deep breath and stepped forward, her hand outstretched toward the ancient trees. She could feel the pull of the earth beneath her, the same pull she had felt since she first set foot in the forest. It was like the land was calling to her, urging her to reconnect with something deep and primal. As her fingers brushed the bark of the nearest tree, a wave of energy surged through her, and the ground beneath her feet seemed to shift. The earth groaned as if it was awakening from a long slumber. Kira gasped as the power flooded through her, filling her veins with warmth and strength. She could feel the earth's heartbeat, steady and ancient, echoing in her chest. The world around her seemed to blur as the energy surged, filling her senses. She saw flashes of her past, her pack, her family, the battles they had fought, the love they had shared. She saw the destruction the invaders had wrought, the devastation they had caused to the world. But through it all, there was a thread of light, a hope that had never fully died. The balance could be restored. The earth could heal, but only if she did what was necessary. Kira closed her eyes, focusing on the energy flowing through her. She could feel the earth's power gathering, waiting for her to guide it. The invaders had taken so much, but they had not destroyed everything. The balance was still there, buried beneath the surface, waiting to be reclaimed. She could feel it now. This was her moment. The earth had chosen her, and she would not let it down. "Let it flow," Elysia said softly, her voice filled with wisdom. "You are the bridge between the earth and the sky, between the old ways and the new. Let the power of the earth guide you." Kira nodded, her heart steady. She lifted her hands toward the sky, and as she did, the trees around her seemed to respond, their leaves rustling in a rhythm that matched the beat of her heart. The air hummed with energy, and the earth beneath her feet began to tremble. The power surged within her, and she felt the land respond to her call. She could hear the spirits of the forest, the ancient creatures, the forces of nature that had once been in harmony. They were with her, guiding her, lending their strength. With a final decisive motion, Kira released the power she had gathered, sending it into the earth. The ground beneath her feet erupted in a brilliant burst of light, and the trees around her seemed to glow with an otherworldly radiance. The forest itself was alive, breathing in the energy she had released. The balance was beginning to restore itself. The earth groaned once more, but this time it was a sound of renewal, not pain. The ancient power flowed through the land, mending the broken pieces, healing the scars that the invaders had left behind. The trees grew taller, their roots digging deeper into the soil. The air was filled with the scent of fresh growth, and the once dying land began to flourish again. Kira collapsed to her knees, exhausted, but filled with a deep sense of peace. The power that had flowed through her had been overwhelming, but now the earth was whole again. The balance had been restored. The keepers gathered around her, their faces filled with awe and gratitude. Elysia knelt beside Kira, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You did it," she said softly. "You've restored the balance." Kira nodded, her breath still coming in shallow gasps. "We did it," she corrected her. "This wasn't just me. It was all of us, my pack, the earth, the spirits. We've all fought for this." The land around them seemed to hum with life, the power of the earth flowing freely once more. Kira felt a deep connection to it, a sense of unity with everything around her. The invaders had been stopped, but more than that, the earth had reclaimed its strength. The balance had been restored. As the sky began to lighten with the first rays of dawn, Kira stood up, her legs unsteady but strong. She looked around at the keepers, and for the first time in a long time she smiled. "We've won," she said. "But the fight isn't over. The world is healing, but there's still work to be done." and I will see it through together with all of you. The journey had been long, and there had been many battles along the way. But Kira had found her purpose. She had restored the balance, and now it was time to rebuild. The world would heal, and she would be there to help guide it. Alongside the keepers and the spirits of the earth, the future was uncertain, but with the balance restored, hope had returned to the world. And for the first time since the war had begun, Kira felt the weight of the past lift from her shoulders. The earth had healed, and she had found her place within it. The journey was far from over, but Kira was ready for whatever came next. She would protect the balance for herself, for her pack, and for the world. The fight had only just begun.